en el distrito vamos a estar grabando esta sesión y vamos a ponerla en línea. Y algo más para clarificar, en el parte de abajo en su pantalla usted va a encontrar el cuadro de diálogo si desea compartir una pregunta. Y si quizás desea probarla, salúdenos en el cuadro de chat si desea. Gracias.
All right, I think we're ready to get going.
Vamos a comenzar.
So I just want to welcome you again. I introduced myself earlier, but I'm Tim Gross, the principal at Hazelbrook. And you just heard from Andy Van Fleet, the principal at Fowler. And we're excited to share with you what we know about the coming year.
Muy bien, vamos a arrancar la sesión. Acaban de conocer a Andy Van Fleet, el director de la Escuela Intermedia de Fowler, y también Tim Gross, el director de la Escuela Intermedia de Hazelbrook. Muy bienvenidos.
There are also a few other folks here in the room tonight that we'd love to know that are here. Many of our teachers in our two-way immersion programs from both Fowler and Hazelbrook are here tonight. We thank them for coming. In addition, Marnie Watts, the associate principal at Fowler Middle School, is here, along with Ben Burkhart, the associate principal with me at Hazelbrook, and Pam Harrell also, who is our one of our leads on our two-way immersion programs across the district, is here as well tonight. So thank you all for joining us.
Sí, somos un equipo, así contamos con el apoyo de varios miembros de nuestro equipo de facultad de Fowler y de Hazelbrook. Estamos agradecidos que hayan venido. También contamos con el apoyo de Marnie Watts, la asistente director de Fowler Middle School, y también Ben Burkhart, el asistente director de Hazelbrook, y también nuestra Pam Harrell, nuestra TOSA, es decir, que maestra encargada de coordinar el programa de TWI.
And most importantly, I want to thank all of you parents and students that have taken time out of your busy evening to join us to hear about this coming school year. We're excited to share it with you.
Más que todo, pues le agradecemos a ustedes por participar en esta sesión esta noche. Gracias por venir. Estamos emocionados compartir esta información.
So first of all, just to run through what we expect tonight to look like, we have some information to share with you here over the next 20 to 25 minutes or so. At that point in time, we want to open things up through the chat, where you'll be able to ask big picture questions that apply to the big picture program in terms of our two-way immersion program across our entire district. And then we are going to add some links to our chat window where you'll be able to drop into specific sessions with myself to talk about Hazelbrook if you have questions, and with Andy from Fowler to answer your questions specific to each school.
Sí. En los próximos 20 minutos vamos a compartir información, nueva información respecto al programa de inmersión. Justo después, a unos 20 minutos más, vamos a compartir preguntas así anchas, amplias, es decir, preguntas que les parece importantes en el chat, o sea, el cuadro de diálogo. Y luego, es importante, vamos a dividir por escuela, vamos a compartir enlaces de otros Google Meet donde usted puede juntar con el equipo de su escuela.
Gracias. I am going to turn it over to Andy, who's going to talk about our goals for tonight.
All right. Thank you very much, Tim. So first and foremost, again, as Tim said, thank you for joining us. The entire rationale for tonight is to create some clarity, start the partnership and connection, even though we have a couple weeks until school starts, but clarifying the instructional times for our students, what that day is going to look like, talk through the content in both English and Spanish that our children will be exposed to, acknowledgement of the elective offerings that your students will be taking and how they will in this virtual world, introductions to our teaching staff, some absolute rock stars coming together to your kids for this coming year. And then to explain again and just make sure that we can clarify the cohorting for you and what that feels like, why we've set up the schedule we have. And those are some of the big topics that we will be taking a look at tonight.
Estimados alumnos, el propósito de esta sesión esta noche es clarificar el asunto del horario de instrucción, clarificar las expectativas en cuanto a el contenido y el lenguaje. Y también les vamos a compartir información acerca de los cursos electivos que se ofrece cada escuela y también el excelente equipo de maestros y maestras que tenemos en nuestras escuelas. Y al fin y al cabo vamos a compartir información acerca de cómo vamos a agrupar a nuestros estudiantes.
Next slide, please. Okay, and those who joined a little bit earlier, we covered and went over some of the norms, and this is what our students will be practicing and being exposed to as well. So we want to model this norming behavior. When we have questions that come through in the chat, we will get to those at the end of the presentation. If you'll bear with us, many of the questions that you have, we will be able to address as we go through. But in the right-hand side, if you'd like to put some questions there as we get closer to the end of this, we will know what to respond to and be able to talk to a global scale. And then we'll break into some smaller rooms, Fowler and Hazelbrook specific, to be able to try to go a little bit deeper in some of those questions that may be specific to our schools and to your children.
Uh-huh. Pues ya mencionamos eso, pero sus preguntas son bien importantes a nosotros, así que en el espíritu de clarificar sus dudas y toda la incertidumbre de este año, favor de hacer sus preguntas en el cuadro de diálogo, en el chat. Está a mano derecha en su pantalla. En unos momentos, quizás a las 7 vamos a transicionar a contestar preguntas, así que favor de apuntarlas. Y de nuevo, favor de mantener sus micrófonos en silencio.
And the functionality of being able to mute microphones and video is incredibly important in these situations, both for parents, for presenters, for learners. It helps us if there's something in our background that we'd like to shut down and not have the world see. So that's a brilliant feature. And you guys are amazing students already in being able to have the mute feature on. So thank you very much, because it allows the presentation to go smoothly.
Así que así vamos bueno, la presentación será más suave si mantenemos los micrófonos en silencio, y si usted desea también se puede apagar su video usando los iconos en la parte debajo de su pantalla.
And we just also want you to know that we will be answering all questions in both English and Spanish, and we are just absolutely thrilled to be able to have that ability this evening with you.
Ofreceremos interpretación para hacer preguntas y contestar preguntas.
Okay, with that, I will pass it back to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Andy. I just want to talk a little bit about the purpose of our two-way immersion program that really grounds us in why we're here tonight. And that is that we are really committed to wanting to make sure that we build bilingual and biliterate students as part of our two-way program, and that we're getting students to use English and Spanish so that they can take it with them beyond just our school experience, number one.
Mm-hmm. Es que reconocemos el propósito de por qué tenemos nuestro programa de inmersión. Es decir, que es de suma importancia que nuestros estudiantes pueden usar ambos idiomas en forma social y académico.
You know, the second piece is that a lot of research tells us that students that go through their schooling in 2 languages can outperform their peers in all academic areas, regardless of which language they learn in. And so we continue to strive to meet that expectation within our program as well.
Pues la investigación ya nos dijo que los estudiantes que pueden manejar ambos idiomas en sus estudios, pues el resultado es una preparación altísima.
You know, the third piece here is that we know that being bilingual and speaking two languages is an asset, and that we want students to be able to celebrate and recognize that. And coming along with being bilingual and having a two-way immersion program, we get to have students that are native speakers in both English and Spanish. And we get to come together, and knowing that language is a huge part of culture, we get to celebrate the multicultural nature of our community through this TWI program, which is right there at the heart of why we're here.
Uh-huh. Se dice que el lenguaje es la llave a la cultura, y es de suma importancia que por medio de sus estudios en el lenguaje también desarrollen su autoestima y actitudes culturales positivas.
And obviously, at the end of our students' schooling, as they leave us in TTSD, we want them to be able to celebrate with the seal of biliteracy, so that they know and others know and can celebrate all that they've accomplished, and that they have the skills they need to go out and lead a bilingual and biliterate life.
Y al fin y al cabo, por su esfuerzo en nuestro programa de inversión, esperamos que cada estudiante en Tigard-Tualatin califique por el sello estatal que reconoce alto nivel del uso del bilingüismo.
And, you know, the last piece is that even though we're in times where we're going through a global pandemic and school is going to look a lot different for all of us than it ever has before, these continue to be at the heart of our goals for TWI, and we know we can continue to strive to reach them, and will reach them regardless of the way we provide school.
Uh-huh. Pues estos puntos, esta visión y las metas siguen siendo nuestras metas a pesar de la pandemia, a pesar de estos tiempos difíciles. Así que seguimos comprometidos a servir a nuestros estudiantes, manteniendo siempre nuestro programa a lo mejor que podamos.
So I just want to walk through really briefly what our course offerings are in each language. Those continue to be the same. I know that we have families that are new with us tonight as incoming sixth graders, so welcome to our middle school family. And those that are in seventh and eighth have seen some of this content before, but we want to make sure that everyone is kind of up to speed on what our offerings look like for the coming year.
Sí. Dependiendo de cuánto tiempo lleva en el sistema, esta información puede ser nueva, o si tiene experiencia ya por estar en séptimo o octavo grado, tal vez ya reconoce ya la información, pero sí deseamos compartir esta información acerca de cómo vamos a brindar estos cursos en cuál idioma.
So at the sixth grade level, you know, at all three grade levels, before I start, let me say that we strive to offer 50% of students schooling experience in Spanish and 50% in English. And so as we move into this school year in Spanish at the sixth grade level, we will be offering a Spanish language arts that's combined with an English language arts course where students will be making interlanguage connections and doing that through language arts. We will have social studies in Spanish, math in Spanish, and then new this year will be a morning meeting where we're working to build students' social emotional skills to have a chance to connect as a community and develop things that sometimes come naturally when we're there in person. But when we're isolated from each other during social distancing, we need an opportunity to work to build those connections and skills to make everyone feel welcome.
Uh-huh. Pues en este año, en sexto grado, en español, bueno, debo de mencionar que siempre esforzamos ofrecer 50% de nuestros cursos, o sea, el tiempo que nuestros niños pasen en la escuela, en español e inglés. Así que este año vamos a compartir artes del lenguaje en español ligado con o en conexión con artes del lenguaje en inglés. También brindaremos estudios sociales, matemáticas y algo nuevo, una rutina, una junta cada mañana, durante la cual siempre trataremos de hacer conexiones entre los mismos estudiantes, ya que por la pandemia ya hemos pasado mucho tiempo sin conexión con nuestros colegas y quizás compañeros de clase.
In English, as I talked about, we'll have English language arts that's combined with Spanish language arts, as I mentioned. But in English at the 6th grade level, we'll offer science, PE, and elective for each student. And then if students need additional reading support or English language services, they would receive those in English.
Uh-huh. Pues en inglés ofreceremos una conexión digamos, en inglés al español. También brindaremos ciencia, educación física, ciertos cursos electivos y, si es necesario, una clase de intervención, o sea, un apoyo en lectura en inglés.
At 7th grade, things look very similar. The only difference is that science and math are switched. So as a 7th grader, students will receive science instruction in Spanish and math instruction in English. Also at Hazelbrook, the morning meeting will be done on alternating days in English and Spanish.
Uh-huh. Muy bien, okay. Pues como dijo el director Gross, esos horarios de estos cursos son parecidos con la excepción de ciencias en español y matemáticas en inglés. Así que cambiamos a ciencias por matemáticas en español. También dijo Mr. Gross que la rutina de la mañana va a cambiar de español e inglés, digamos, en ciertos días. Así que un día en inglés y otro día en español.
And as we move into 8th grade, this applies to Fowler for this coming year and not Hazelbrook. Again, the language arts is the same as the other 2 grade levels. Science will be offered again in Spanish. The morning meeting will alternate between English and Spanish. And the rest of the classes that you see there below will be offered in English.
Qué alegre. Nuestro programa sigue creciendo. Así que en Fowler van entrando en nuestra primera clase de estudiantes de inmersión, están en 8º grado. Así que notará que ofreceremos artes de lenguaje en español, ciencias y la rutina de la mañana. Favor de notar, por favor, en inglés ofrecemos inglés, matemáticas, educación física en inglés, que sí es un cambio, y también ciertos cursos electivos.
And as the other Tim just mentioned, PE will be offered in English as moving to a virtual format for all of our electives, in which case we're in the situation that we're in because we need to preserve social distancing for our students and build smaller cohorts coming to school. PE will be offered in English for 8th graders rather than Spanish as we had initially planned.
Lo siento, Mr. Tim, I got excited. Sorry.
Okay.
Disculpa.
Okay.
Adelante.
So let me talk a little bit about cohorting. We will be building cohorts of students that are about 15 students in size. And those cohorts will reflect how the students will attend their core classes, which are math, science, language arts, and social studies.
Y tal vez usted ha escuchado acerca de cohortes o pequeños grupos de estudiantes que estamos minimizando hasta un número de 15 en cada aula. Es decir, que estamos describiendo cómo formamos grupitos de 15 para nuestros cursos principales, o sea, cursos como matemáticas, artes de lenguaje y estudios sociales.
So for students that are in our two-way immersion program, they will be cohorted together with other students that are in our TWI program at their grade level. So 6th graders that are in TWI will be in cohorts with other 6th graders in TWI, and the same goes for 7th and 8th grade.
Que nuestros estudiantes de TWI estarán con otros niños de TWI, así que no van a si su hijo, por ejemplo, está en 6º grado, va a estar en una clase asignado con otros estudiantes de 6º grado de TWI.
You know, that also students and families have the option of choosing between a hybrid schooling option. Should it be safe to return to school, students would be able to come into school 2 days per week, or the online only option where students would remain learning remotely throughout the entire first semester. We know that all students will be in the same territory for the first 9 weeks and learning remotely, but our hybrid students will make up 3 cohorts of our students in each grade level, whereas our online only students will make up 1 cohort.
Uh-huh. Pues hablemos de las opciones que tenemos. Es decir, que en cada grado tendrá 3 grupos o 3 cohortes para el programa híbrido. Es decir, cuando esté ya seguro para regresar a clases según las métricas, según las medidas de la gobernadora. Bueno, cuando esté seguro, estos grupos de 3 grupos pueden regresar, digamos, a su programación de estar en clase ciertos días y estar fuera de clase en otros días. Mientras tanto, cada grado mantendrá un grupo que participa exclusivamente en línea.
So within our hybrid cohorts of students, we'll be building those by student last name, so that ideally, if things break down just right, students with the last names A through L will attend in school when we can come back safely, or for now remotely. They'll have their core classes on Mondays and Tuesdays with their electives and PE and reading classes as needed on Thursday and Friday, and students last name M through Z would be the opposite. Now we do know that in order to get our classes balanced at the numbers we need, there may be some exceptions by last name. And so if there is an exception, we will make sure that siblings, whether they're attending Hazelbrook or Fowler or other schools in our district, that they will have their core classes and be attending in school when it's safe to return on the same days.
Entonces, cuando esté seguro ya regresar a clase, vamos a quizás estudiantes con apellidos A L asistirán sus cursos principales los días lunes y martes en forma virtual o cuando eventualmente cuando regresemos a clase en persona. En caso de los estudiantes, si tienen un apellido de M a Z, asistirá los días jueves y viernes en persona. Es decir, que van alternando días cuando regresemos a clase, pero también ofreceremos estos cursos principales virtualmente en estos días.
And I know that students and families, all of you are just waiting for those schedules. We will get those out to you as soon as we can. We are in a unique process of scheduling that we haven't been in before, so we really appreciate your grace and your patience over the next couple of weeks as we finalize everything.
Sabemos que están pendientes ya por los horarios para sus hijos, y pues estas circunstancias son muy nuevas, pues, y estamos esforzando. Quizás esperamos tener estos horarios ya listos en los próximos 2 semanas.
And so I am gonna, last couple pieces here about cohorting are that students, when they are attending virtually in PE, their electives, reading and ELD, they will be placed in classes with other peers of the same grade level or maybe even blended grade levels from their home school. And so students will move outside of their TWI cohorts for those other classes as they will be offered virtually all year.
Y para los cursos electivos como y también la educación física, apoyo en lectura y también desarrollo de inglés en ELD por sus siglas en inglés, pues los estudiantes de TWI en este caso sí mezclarán con los demás estudiantes de su grado. Y debo de mencionar también que estos cursos se llevarán a cabo en línea exclusivamente.
With that, I am going to hand things over to Andy, who is going to kind of walk through what a weekly schedule will look like for our students.
El director Van Fleet va a explicar el horario estudiantil. Un ejemplo.
Thank you. So as Tim mentioned, this is an example schedule of what a core day would look like. And for these students, it's last name A through L. If it was M through Z, this model would take place on the Thursday, Friday. But the idea is all of our students will be meeting on their core days in this morning meeting, which is a time to come together as a community. It's a time to kind of just regulate and get our mind around our day. Within that, we will do some social connections, which our kids really need. Community building, anti-bias work will occur in this period. And then we will roll into our first period block, which in this model, in this, again, shift, but your schedule would be clear to you on the forecasting sheet. The English and Spanish language arts would happen in that first block, reading, writing, and social studies.
Muy bien. Hay que regresar, Andy. A ver, este es el ejemplo horario para un estudiante que tiene un apellido que comienza con A a L. Es decir, este horario detalla los cursos principales que tomará los días lunes y martes. La mañana comienza a las 9 de la mañana con la rutina de la mañana, durante la cual enfocamos en el aprendizaje social, emocional, conexiones en nuestra comunidad, y también esforzamos aquí en la equidad, ¿verdad? Después viene otro bloque de estudio durante el cual ofreceremos artes de lenguaje. Acuérdense cuando mencionamos vamos a ofrecer artes de lenguaje en español, también estudios sociales en español, con enlaces, con conexiones, al inglés, especialmente en cuanto al lenguaje, escritura, etc.
After that first period block, then we would move into lunch, and it's a longer lunch period just to make sure that students can stretch, we can get our needs met, and have a little bit of time before we move into the second block of the day, which is the math science core blocks.
Mm-hmm.
We will then work through. And after that wraps up, there's an opportunity for students to check in with their teachers that may be elective, their PE teachers, their elective teacher in that online capacity as well.
Después del primer bloque que acabamos de presentar, habrá un almuerzo, un periodo bastante largo de almuerzo, y para que puedan cumplir con sus necesidades, moverse, hacer ejercicio, etc. Pero después de ese bloque de almuerzo viene el segundo bloque de matemáticas y ciencia, y aquí enfocaremos en cumplir con los estándares estatales de matemáticas y ciencias. Y después, a las 2 de la tarde, cada estudiante tendrá la oportunidad de conectar con su maestra durante horas de oficina, es decir, hacer llamadas con el maestro para clarificar dudas o hacer conexiones.
Next slide, please.
Andy, if I can add one thing, I think that students that have advanced math, what will happen is they will receive math time here, as you see in the schedule. But in addition to the time that they have here in their math class, students will have the opportunity during that 2 to 2:45 window of time to get direct instruction from an advanced math teacher. In addition, they will also have an opportunity to get support from small group instruction from an advanced math teacher during their actual math block as well. So they'll have opportunities to access those folks regardless of their level of math.
Thank you, sir. Next. Oh. So though we've now looked at what the core day will look like. The Wednesday is a staff professional development day. We're coming together to create the lesson plans, to tweak, to make sure we're meeting student needs. What students do on that day, there will be a morning meeting from 9 to 9:30 in the morning, which is a check-in to double check we know what our plan is moving forward for the rest of the day to work on more independent study that our teachers would have provided the days before. So they have an opportunity throughout that day, and we have carved it out with our proposal to try to create just a regulated schedule so students start seeing themselves as learners every day of the week and not just core and elective, but we want them to be going through all of their studies on Wednesday as well, which is why this is a proposed schedule, but families obviously can move the subjects around, or so can students based on their progression.
Es importante reconocer que este horario sí es una propuesta, pero lo que sí queremos que cada estudiante tenga la oportunidad de repasar cada curso que tenga, o sea, en de sus cursos principales. Así que notará el tiempo para trabajo independiente, para el tiempo de práctica en ese día miércoles, durante el cual tendrá ese tiempo para trabajo independiente en sus cursos principales.
Next slide, please. And then this is an example of what the elective day would be. So students have had their core day, they've had their Wednesday. The elective/PE day is set up in this environment with being very cognizant to not overwhelm our learners. We have one elective that students will take, a PE class. Again, there's the lunch movement idea. If students need additional support in reading, we will have reading activities on this day, or there will be opportunities to, again, be checking in with the advanced math lessons instructors for additional support if students have a need for additional support in terms of math on these days. And at the end of the day, from 2 to 2:45, there's yet again another opportunity to check in. Since this is an elective day, the intent is that they would be checking in with their core teachers because they're still working on those assignments as well.
Aquí notará que este es un ejemplo de un horario para los días jueves y viernes, y es bastante diferente comparado con los horarios de lunes y martes. El día comienza con un curso electivo seguido por un periodo de educación física. Luego viene el almuerzo y movimiento, y de ahí brindaremos los apoyos que necesiten. Entonces, si su hijo, por ejemplo, necesita ayuda en la lectura durante este periodo, se lo puede tomar. Y también, digamos, el lectoescritura en inglés y español son bien importantes. Así que queremos fomentar estas conexiones en estas conexiones lingüísticas, pues, entre el español e inglés. Y al fin y al cabo, también brindaremos horas de oficina. Y a la vez matemáticas avanzadas.
Thank you very much. So now is the point where we start moving into introductions, and both Fowler and Hazelbrook will just really briefly go over our staff, and then we'll have an opportunity to actually have a quick connection with our staff members. But at Fowler,
aquí le presentamos a nuestra facultad de inmersión de Fowler. Vamos a conocerlo un poco mejor después.
At Fowler, in 6th grade for the bilingual education, we're going to be looking at Josh Morris, language arts, Christine Alcaraz Juarez, math science. 7th grade, social studies, Ellie Roberson, math and science. And at the 8th grade, Milagros Fibas, new language arts teacher we're jazzed to have on board. And Arnulfo Torres is returning as a science teacher at 8th grade, which again, we're very stoked we could retain him. And Ms. Janae Knutson will be joining that 8th grade team with math and social studies.
Muy bien, les presentamos el maestro Morris, nuestro profesor de artes del lenguaje, y también a maestra Cristina Arqueres Juárez, nuestra maestra de matemáticas y ciencia en sexto grado. También en séptimo grado le presentamos a Andrea Franchi, nuestra maestra de artes del lenguaje y estudios sociales, y también maestra Ellie Robertson de matemáticas y ciencia. Y también en nuestro nuevo grado, o sea, del octavo grado, una nueva maestra le presentamos. Estamos bien emocionados de dar la bienvenida a maestra Milagros Febus para el curso de artes del lenguaje, y también a maestro Arnulfo Torres, nuestro profesor de ciencia, y también a Janae Knudsen en matemáticas y estudios sociales.
At Hazelbrook, for our teaching staff within our TWI program, we're really lucky to have Maria O'Connor with us to do the language arts and our social studies bilingually, and to be wrapping the Spanish and English instruction together there. Our previous math and science teacher left us late in the summer to take a different position in a different district, and we are currently vetting candidates right now to make sure that we have the very best person possible working with our students in math and science, and we look forward to sharing that person with you any day now. We're talking to some great candidates. At 7th grade, Milagros Febus and Arnulfo Torres, they will be working with our 7th graders at Hazelbrook, in addition to the 8th graders at Fowler. And so we're also very fortunate to have Marissa Valdez providing the math instruction in English, and Leah Gibson providing the English language arts instruction for our 7th graders.
En nuestra facultad de inmersión de Hazelbrook le presentamos a las maestras de sexto grado, a la maestra María O'Connor, que es encargada del arte del lenguaje y estudios sociales en sexto grado. Lastimosamente a nuestra maestra de matemáticas buscó otra plaza en otro distrito, así que seguimos buscando alguien de alta calidad que la reemplace para el curso de matemáticas y ciencia de sexto grado. Y también en séptimo grado estamos bien emocionados de dar la bienvenida a la maestra Milagros Febus para el curso de artes y lenguaje en español y estudios sociales. Y también a maestra Arnulfo Torres para la ciencia en español. Debo de mencionar que también maestra Milagros estará en su curso. Y también a Marisa matemáticas, pero sí una maestra que es maestra de artes del lenguaje en inglés.
So just moving forward, I want to give each of our teachers who could make it tonight just a brief opportunity to introduce themselves. And so I'm going to start with Hazelbrook's 6th grade language arts and social studies teacher, Maestra O'Connor. Feel free to unmute.
Adelante, maestra.
Buenas noches a todos. Soy la maestra O'Connor y como dijo el director, yo doy clases de ciencias sociales y artes del lenguaje en español y ciencias sociales en inglés. Estoy ansiosa por comenzar el año. I am Mrs. O'Connor. I will be teaching, like the slide says, social studies and Spanish language arts. And I will also be doing the English component of language arts as well. I'm super excited to begin this new year with you guys, and it's going to be awesome.
Thank you, Maestra O'Connor. Mrs. Valdez is our 7th grade math teacher. I don't think she could make it tonight. I'm just scanning the room here, and I don't see her, but oh, there she is here. So go ahead. Valdez.
Hola y buenas noches. I'm Mrs. Valdez. I'll be teaching the 7th grade math at Hazelbrook. And I've been at Hazelbrook for 18 years now. I can't believe it's been that long, but super excited to be part of the TWI program. I do have a minor in Spanish from Oregon State. And I lived in Guadalajara, Mexico for 3 months and did an internship there. So super excited to be on the TWI team this year. Thanks for having me.
Acaba de presentarse la maestra Valdez. Tiene 18 años de estar trabajando en Heidelberg, increíble, excelente. Y va a estar dando el curso de séptimo grado de matemáticas. Y ya tiene experiencia de vivir en México, en Guadalajara, y también me parece que tuvo un trabajo de interna. Así que excelente, gracias maestra.
Leah Gibson. Mrs. Gibson will be working with our 7th graders at Hazelbrook in English Language Arts. I don't think she could make it tonight, but we are very lucky to have her working with our 7th graders in English Language Arts.
Nos alegra que la maestra Gibson esté trabajando con los estudiantes de inmersión en el curso de Artes del Lenguaje en el 7º grado.
Maestra Febus will be joining our school district with our 7th graders in Language Arts and Social Studies in Spanish and our 8th graders for Language Arts at Fowler. And so I want to turn it over to her so she can introduce herself to you.
Hola, muy buenas noches. Sí, mi nombre es Maestra Febus y estoy muy contenta de la oportunidad que el distrito me ha ofrecido para compartir con ambas escuelas. Estoy muy contenta de comenzar el año también y muy feliz de que haya muchos papás también en esta reunión.
And that was Maestra Febus, and she is just delighted to be in the district in both Fowler and Hazelbrook middle schools, and that she is excited and certainly delighted that there are so many parents here for our session this evening.
Maestro Torres could not be here tonight. He is out on duty, but he has sent us a video that I'd like to share with you really quickly as he'd like to introduce himself. And that didn't work. Let's try that again.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Arnulfo Torres. Voy a ser el nuevo maestro de ciencias por el programa de TWI en Hazelbrook. Ya he trabajado un año ahí en Fowler Middle School como el maestro de ciencias. Y un poquito de mí, acá estoy de bombero, terminado mi trabajo. Y en unas 2 semanas llego para atrás. Y estoy muy contento para trabajar con ustedes y con los estudiantes. Y pues les mando muchos saludos de acá. Y estoy en Burns, Oregon, trabajando. Hi there, my name's Arnulfo Torres. I'll be the new TWI science teacher for Hazelbrook. I've been working there for a year at Fowler as a science teacher, TWI science teacher. And I'm out here fighting fires for 2 more weeks, and then I'll be back with you all. And I'm excited to work with you all. I'd like to send muchos saludos, and hope you all are doing great. See you soon.
Stay safe. Wow.
And I'm going to turn it over to Andy to introduce the Fowler teaching staff.
Okay, a couple are returning and almost, I would say, veteran teachers. Maestra Perez Juarez, I believe she's here this evening. If you can unmute and say hello.
Buenas tardes o buenas noches. Estoy emocionada de seguir en Fowler. Este año me voy a seguir enseñando matemáticas y vamos a agregar ciencias. Y aunque no vamos a empezar con los estudiantes juntos, estoy emocionada que juntos tenemos la oportunidad de crecer. Good evening. I am excited to come back to Fowler. I will be teaching math, and then I'm also excited to add science to that. And I'm just excited for the opportunity to grow this year along with my students with this unique opportunity.
Gracias, maestra.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Morris, who will be joining us in the Q&A that will follow this presentation. Another solid TWI teacher. Mr. Morris, can you please introduce yourself?
Hola, buenas noches. Realmente un gusto el poder estar con ustedes esta noche, el poder compartir nada más todo lo que estamos haciendo acá y lo que planeamos hacer este año. Yo estaré enseñando 6º grado, lenguaje y estudios sociales. Hey guys, it's great to be here tonight with you and get to share a little bit about our awesome program that we have at Fowler and just how we're looking forward to this year and getting to work with the kids. I teach language arts and social studies.
Gracias. Thank you, sir. And 2 more rock stars we definitely need to share. Mr. Robertson, please introduce yourself.
Bueno, hola, muy buenas noches. Soy la maestra de Ciencias y Matemáticas de 7º grado. Y pues quiero decir primeramente, me alegro ver tantos nombres de familias ya conocidas y los alumnos que conozco de los años pasados. Yo sé que en este mundo virtual es lindo conectar con todos ustedes y estoy muy emocionada de conectar con mis alumnos nuevos de 7º grado y sus familias también este año. So I'm Ellie Robertson. I'm doing science and math this year for 7th grade. And I just wanted to say it's really awesome to see all the families that have shown up for this and kind of in the virtual world, see familiar names of families and students. And I'm really just looking forward to connecting with everybody this year.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And the final Fowler Falcon who could be here this evening. Thank you.
Muy buenas noches, mi nombre es Profe Frankie y este va a ser mi 2º año en Fowler. Voy a estar enseñando 7º grado, estudios sociales y artes del lenguaje en inglés y español. Y realmente es un placer estar aquí con ustedes esta noche y tener la oportunidad de enseñar a sus estudiantes este año escolar. Hi everyone, my name is Miss Frankie and this will be my 2nd year at Fowler and I'm stoked to be teaching 7th grade language arts and social studies, and I'll be doing language arts in both English and Spanish. It's really exciting to be here with all of you this evening and I look forward to working with your students this year.
So just to kind of wrap up the presentation portion of the evening, just want to really emphasize school is going to start for students on September 14th. That is a pushback from initially when school was going to start. We have lots of new things to learn as teachers and staff members to prepare for a new way of doing things for the coming year. And so just wanted to highlight that. We will also be sending some communications out the end of this week and early next week about 6th graders coming to get their iPads as well as family nights at each of our schools. So please stay tuned with emails and your phones as we continue to send messages about upcoming events.
Estimadas madres y padres de familia, les compartimos una fecha bien importante. Desde el primer día de clase será el día lunes 14 de septiembre, que sí es un cambio en cuanto a fecha comparado con la fecha inicial que teníamos planeado. También, por favor, siga conectado con nosotros por medio de correos y mensajes, ya que vamos a estar actualizando información acerca de cómo entregar iPads o las tabletas a los estudiantes de 6º grado y también más información acerca del comienzo del año.
So at this point, we want to take about 10 minutes. It says 7:24 on my clock, so we want to take until about 7:35. We're in a little behind schedule, but we're going to adjust and answer any questions you have about big picture about the program. You can enter those in the chat. I know there are probably a few that are sitting there in the chat now, and we're going to have Miss Watts kind of fire those questions at us so we can get those questions answered for you before we step into our individual school breakout sessions.
Vamos a pasar unos minutos para contestar preguntas frente al grupo entero antes de dividir a discusiones, a conversaciones en nuestras comunidades escolares.
All right, so there's a question here about Wednesdays and whether or not teachers would be available for a consultation should students need support or have questions.
Una pregunta acerca de los días miércoles, si los maestros estarán disponibles para contestar a preguntas de estudiantes.
So on Wednesday mornings, students will meet with their first period teacher that they would have every Monday. And the goal of that brief check-in on Wednesdays is to make sure students know and have prioritized all of the things that they need to do on that day. Teachers will be collaborating and preparing the rest of that day, so they won't be accessible. But that morning time is really intended to set agendas for students throughout the day so that they can continue to practice and apply the learning that they've done in their interactive sessions earlier in the week or later in the previous week, depending on when students have those classes.
Muy bien. En el horario para el día miércoles, en el primer periodo del día, los estudiantes estarán conectados con sus maestras para establecer su agenda, o sea, las cosas que tienen que hacer en este día. Así que van a hacer una lista de prioridades para poder cumplir con sus trabajos independientes. Después de este periodo, los estudiantes van a trabajar en sus proyectos, o sea, en sus trabajos, y durante tanto los maestros van a estar colaborando con sus colegas para la planificación.
So another question we have is about kind of basically the limited time for core classes and the concern that 33 or a third of their core days is spent in the morning meeting, the anti-bias time, and why that is.
So, Marty, can you throw it at me one more time?
So, question about a third of students' core days, their instructional time is going to be on the morning meeting, so 1/3 of their day. And why that is, why the time is not distributed to the core.
Muy bien, les relato una pregunta acerca de 1/3 de los minutos de instrucción los estamos invirtiendo en el desarrollo social, en la rutina de la mañana, y la pregunta es, ¿por qué?
So I can answer that. I think that, our guidance from the Oregon Department of Education in terms of their Ready Schools Safe Learning guidance makes it really clear that creating connections and relationships with students and between students needs to be at the forefront and a priority during a time when we may be spending quite a chunk in distance learning. And so taking that guidance from the state and meeting to determine how to best do that, we wanted to make sure that we prioritize that time to do so. In terms of the core instruction, not all core instruction is going to come through the interactive sessions within a student's schedule. In addition to that, students will have access online to assignments, activities, video instruction, all of those types of things that will allow students to continue their learning outside of those interactive sessions that are provided in the schedule. So even though it looks like there's just potentially an hour there a couple days a week for core subjects, that Wednesday time is really allocated for students to spend continuing to practice that learning that they did during those interactive sessions. So that's a lot different than we're used to in real school, where students get primarily all of their instruction when they're in the classroom with teachers. In this case, we will have that available to students online so that they can continue to get that instruction while they're not in those interactive sessions directly with teachers. Sorry.
Muy bien. Hay 3 puntos que hizo el director Gross para responder a la pregunta acerca de por qué pasamos tanto tiempo haciendo conexiones sociales. Digamos, el primer punto es el Departamento de Educación se esfuerza este punto que es de suma importancia según el Departamento de Educación estas conexiones sociales, especialmente considerando estas circunstancias muy difíciles durante esta pandemia, o sea, conexiones con compañeros de clase es de importancia. También es importante reconocer que estos cursos principales son diferentes en comparación de antes de COVID, digamos, estos tiempos pre-COVID. Es decir, que sí la enseñanza y el aprendizaje se ocurre durante estas sesiones interactivas con la maestra, Pero también tendrán acceso, o sea, los estudiantes tendrán acceso a materiales de instrucción, como videos, textos, para seguir practicando, para seguir esforzando en su desarrollo de idioma y de contenido. Es diferente, sí, eso lo reconocemos, ya que toda la instrucción no va a ser exclusivamente con maestros, pero vamos a tener un balance de enseñando con maestros y también acceso a materiales de instrucción en línea.
All right, another question about the standards being covered and basically how will they get through the standards this year with such limited time?
Entonces, con los límites de tiempo, ¿cómo puede ser que vamos a cubrir los estándares para este año?
Florida Virtual has done a very good job of aligning the units to the standards that we need to cover during the course of the year. Now, with TWI, with Spanish, there's going to be a lot that our teachers will have to develop and upload into Canvas, into Florida Virtual, that then will be accessible. For the electives, much of that may already be created by Florida Virtual as we go through. So all of our instructors are going to have to realize how these courses were built over the course of the year, look for the priority standards, just like we would do in a normal year, and really drill down and hit those priority standards first as we go through our progressions.
Uh-huh. El director Van Fleet esforzó, digamos, el concepto de los estándares de prioridad. Es decir, que en nuestra facultad, nuestros maestros van a tener que analizar bien, digamos, los estándares de suma importancia para priorizar, digamos, la secuencia de aprendizaje que nuestros niños necesiten. También mencionó que el distrito adoptó un nuevo currículum que se llama Florida Virtual, que también tenemos la oportunidad de aprovechar de ciertos recursos para nuestros cursos, en cursos electivos a la vez de cursos principales.
All right. Is it time to move to our school sites?
My timer says 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. I think we kind of covered the big pictures, kind of the themes in this. There's a couple questions about math still and how students will access math if they're at a different in a different math course.
Sure. The way math will be provided outside of 6th grade. Where it's going to be in Spanish for 7th and 8th graders. They will have access to the math course at their level that we are adopting through Florida Virtual. So in a 7th grade math class, there could be students in that class that are in 7th grade math as well as advanced 7th grade math and potentially even algebra. And those interactive sessions would be used to kind of review key concepts that maybe go across all levels, but then there's also the potential to use those interactive sessions to break into small groups where students can have discussions about the math that they're working on, or students in advanced classes can also break off and leave that interactive session with their core math teacher and join an interactive session with advanced math teachers who will be available simultaneously to answer questions and help guide students through the advanced math courses. So essentially, students in advanced math will have access to 2 or 3 teachers to help them at their level as they guide them through that advanced math curriculum.
Tim Blackburn.
Oh,
sorry.
No, you caught me snoozing. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It was an advanced math question.
Yeah, my apologies.
Okay, my timer is going off. So if you take a look over at the chat, our facilitators here are going to put the links to join a specific school session where we'll be able to answer questions for about 15 minutes or so. It's also here on your screen. If you'd like to simply enter that address, for your school into your browser window, I guess is what it's called, then we'll be hosting individual sessions at our school here to answer questions over the next 15 minutes. But we appreciate you being here with us, and we look forward to seeing you in our new breakouts.
Si usted desea conectar con su escuela, con el facultad y director de su escuela, por favor, busque el enlace ligado con su escuela. Está en la parte del chat, o sea, en la caja de diálogo a mano derecha de su pantalla. Favor de buscar su enlace para entrar a la conversación en su escuela. Y me quedo aquí por si tiene pregunta. Gracias.
So folks, if you haven't done so already, there's some links in the chat.
Is there anyone here that needs to, in the first meeting, that needs to get into the Fowler second meeting? And Milagros, you're going to want to get exit from the first meeting. And I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. Is there anybody that needs help getting to the Fowler meeting?
Hazelbrook. Oh, sorry.
Jeff, is it the Fowler meeting that's not letting you in, or the Hazelbrook? Fowler. Okay.
Oh, you know what? Tim would need to let us in.
Yeah.
It's on Tim's schedule.
Tim's going to have to approve everybody to go in.
Oh, no. Maybe.
I'll text Tim. He's probably getting all of the, there, Jeff.
He's getting all the days.
getting all of them, I think. Oh, he's probably going to have to go into both. You're right.
You know what we could do? We could bounce back into.
Bounce back and just do it over there.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
All right.